Dr. Maggie Chigozie cautions local investors on ignoring services of the Uganda Investment Authority. We have the story in our bulletin today. Welcome to TV Africa News. Hope you had a beautiful day. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura, but first to the headlines. Nile countries trade blame as dam talks end without breakthrough. Dr. Maggie Chigozie cautions local investors on ignoring the services of the Uganda Investment Authority. Italian PM Mario Draghi in Tripoli in first overseas trip as leader. And in our sports today, Magogo declares intentions to contest against ahead of FIFA polls. Let's have the news in detail. The former executive director of Uganda Investment Authority, Dr. Maggie Chigozie, has urged local investors to use Uganda Investment Authority body for service delivery while investing. We have more.
Uganda Investment Authority is a government agency mandated with promoting investment opportunities in Uganda. It helps ease the process of setting up in Uganda and providing after-service for investors that have already set up in the country. Uganda Investment Authority established the One-Stop Center through the amendment of the Investment Act 2019, creating a single access point for information and service transactions for investors both local and foreign. Dr. Maggie Chigozie, the former executive director of Uganda Investment Authority, has cautioned local investors on neglecting the services of the body with the claim that it considers foreign investors.
So when an investor comes to Uganda, both a Ugandan and a foreign investor, I want to take this opportunity to talk to Ugandan investors. Uganda Investment Authority is for you. Government puts in place for you to help you. But often you think you know. Ugandans think they know everything. And yet there's a lot they don't know that they would benefit from. We have a one-stop center. You can come, register your company, get your investment license, talk about land issues, make sure you're not buying, land that is not there. You see, a lot of people do that. UIA would help you with that. We would help you with work permits, those who are foreigners who need work permits. There is a bank there, so you quickly can do your payments in the One-Stop Center. It has actually developed further since I left. It's now very, very strong.
Dr. Maggie Chigozie said local investors in Uganda ignore information and advice which UIA serves to the investors, and they end up in trouble, including being cheated by imposters.
The first task there is promote Uganda. So look at Uganda, identify what have we got, what is good about Uganda. And luckily, there's so much that's good about Uganda. We have beautiful climate, fantastic, very educated population. We have all the resources. We have animals, tourism. We have it all, actually. So it wasn't difficult to promote this country that is Uganda. We were also in the process of becoming East Africa at that time. Early days, it was early East Africa. So we were promoting ourselves as East African community, and as the UIA of Uganda, we'd get together with Kenya, Tanzania, first of all. Later on, we're also joined by Rwanda and Burundi, and promote our region together, talk about our great region.
During her office, Dr. Chigozie said she managed to start up new industrial parks in different areas of the country, and many have gotten jobs and also tackling on different issues, including investors' welfare, both local and foreign. According to UIA, the priority sectors are in line with Uganda's National Development Plan 3, including agro-industrialization, petroleum development, tourism development, and mineral development.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, Ethiopia has accused Egypt and Sudan of obstructing talks on its contested dam on the Nile, which ended with recriminations and later progress. We have the story. The Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi, as the current chair of the African Union, hosted the talks in the latest bid to ease decade-long tensions over the waters of the world's longest river. Ethiopia's construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, set to be Africa's largest hydroelectric project, is seen by both downstream countries as a threat to their own water supply. Ethiopia's foreign ministry, in a statement posted on Twitter, said that the meeting failed due to Egypt and Sudan's rigid stance to make the negotiation and the outcome of a tool of a firm to their claim. Ethiopia's foreign ministry, in a statement posted on Twitter, said that the meeting failed due to Egypt and Sudan's rigid stance to make the negotiation and the outcome to a firm and foreclose Ethiopia's share. Ethiopia said talks centered on the role of observers to the mediation. South Africa, the United States and the European Union, Egypt and Sudan want them to have the same role as the AU, which Ethiopia said it does not accept. The final text, read by DRC Foreign Minister Mari Tumbanzeza, simply noted that the meeting had taken place, listed its participants, and thanked Tshisekedi for his work. Ethiopia said it would continue with the second stage of filling the dam's reservoir as scheduled during the upcoming rainy season. The country announced last July it had met its first-year filling target, infuriating Egypt and Sudan. Sudan's Foreign Minister Mariam Al-Sadiq Al-Mahdi said that Ethiopia threatens the people of the Nile Basin and Sudan directly. She hopes that President Tshisekedi's judgment will be able to end in the interminable and insufficient negotiations in which the Ethiopia side places everyone before a fait accompli in a way that clearly violates international law and the principles of good neighborliness. Thank you so much, our reporter. You're still watching Africa Today. Now, the High Court yesterday declined to block Uganda Revenue Authority from recalling the alleged bulletproof car belonging to the former presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Elias Bobi Wine for fresh tax reassessment. We have the report.
Presiding Judge Emmanuel Baguma observed that reassessment of Bobi Wine's car would not cause him irreparable injury that cannot be atoned in terms of damages. The judge also noted that Mr. Kyagulanyi failed to prove that the car was the only means of transport he has and hence could not hand it over to URA. Justice Baguma ruled that the applicant, Mr. Kyagulanyi, has not adduced evidence to show that the recalling of the said vehicle for re-verification will cause him irreparable injury which cannot be compensated by award of damages. In the final result, this application is not a proper one to grant a temporary injunction. Mr. Baguma also ordered that basing on the nature and circumstances of this application, no order is made as to costs. This now means that URA is at liberty to impound Mr. Kyagulanyi's car for tax reassessment. Early last month, the leader of the opposition National Unity Platform Party sought to block URA from recalling his car. This followed a communication from the tax body to the politician of how his car had been undervalued as an ordinary car. However, Mr. Kyagulanyi had contended that the tax body did not have legal powers to recall his vehicle that had already passed through their hands. He had, among other orders, sought a permanent injunction against URA and all its agents from enforcing the said orders to have his car recalled for tax re-verification, which court rejected yesterday. The tax body on February 24th wrote to Mr. Kyagulanyi stating that his vehicle had been cleared as an ordinary car without knowing that it was bulletproof and therefore sought to be recalled for tax re-evaluation. However, Mr. Kyagulanyi, through his lawyer, wrote back to URA saying they do not have powers to recall goods that have left their hands.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with more stories. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Now moving on, Libya on Tuesday received the Italian Prime Minister Dario Draghi in what is the Italian Premier's first trip outside Italy and met with the Prime Minister Abdul Hamid in Tripoli on Tuesday.
The meeting comes as Italy tries to reassert its role as a prominent ally of Libya after being pushed aside in recent years by Turkey, Russia, France, and nations eager to influence the precarious political situation. In addition to an economic agreement, other topics on the table include efforts to stop the flow of migrants through Libya and across the Mediterranean. Libya has seen renewed interests from the international community since UN-mediated talks in February to form an interim unity was agreed to. France announced last week that it will reopen its embassy in Libya's capital Tripoli and demanded the immediate withdrawal of foreign fighters.
Now, the death toll from tribal clashes and killings fueled by the Western government in Jenaina, the capital of West Darfur State, Sudan, has risen to 56. We have the report.
According to a statement issued by the Central Committee of Sudanese Doctors on Tuesday, 78 more people were injured, bringing the number of those wounded in the violence to 132. The bloodshed, which started on Saturday, is the latest in a resurgence of violence in the Darfur region since the signing of a peace agreement late last year and the withdrawal of UN peacekeepers. On Monday, April 5th, the Security and Defense Council declared a state of emergency for West Darfur. The conflict between the Masalit and the Arab communities started in mid-January and has led to the displacement of over 109,000 people.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, the Ivorian president, Alassane Ouattara, has appointed his younger brother, Tien Birahima Ouattara, as defense minister, replacing Patrick Achi, who has been confirmed as the country's prime minister. Our reporter has more. The Secretary General of the Ivorian Presidency, Abdourahamane, said that the President of the Republic has signed a decree appointing members of the government, including the appointment of young Ouattara, which comes a month after Ouattara's party won the legislative elections. The sudden demise of the former Prime Minister, Ahmed Bakayoko, on March 10th has reportedly shaken the political landscape in Ivory Coast. Currently, Ivory Coast has 41 ministers and 6 secretaries of state. Speculation is rife that the staff strength will be reduced. On several occasions, the Ivorian head of state has repeatedly spoken of his intention to initiate what he calls a generation renewal. Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Congo on Tuesday endorsed the re-election of President Denis Sassou Nguesso in the March 21st vote, after rejecting the opposition's appeal. We have the report.
According to Auguste Iloki, president of the country's highest judicial body, the Constitutional Court made the necessary rectifications and adjustments on the final results of the election, where the candidate Denis Sassou Nguesso won 88.40% of the presidential vote, was declared elected. He added that the appeals for annulment and postponement of the presidential election presented by Mathias Dizoni, Jean-Jacques Charge, Yombi Opango, and Christian Mozoma are deemed inadmissible. The 77-year-old Denis Sassou Nguesso, who has spent 36 years in power, has been definitively elected president of Congo-Brazzaville for a 4th term, according to a ruling by the Constitutional Court, which deemed inadmissible the appeals of opponents to call for the annulment of the elections. TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Now, Nigeria's police chief on Tuesday called for the Biafran separatist group to be destroyed to the last man after a dramatic attack on prison in southern Nigeria at the weekend that saw more than 1,800 inmates escape. We have the report. The Nigerian Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, made comment hours before he was sacked while on a visit on the scene of the attack in town of Owerri. Usman Al-Khali Baba, who was the force's deputy chief, replaced Adamu, although the reason for the change in Police Inspector General was not given. Tensions remain high between secessionist Biafran groups who are demanding an independent state in southeastern Nigeria and the Nigerian central government, 50 years after terrible civil war in Biafra, 1967 to to 1970, which left nearly 1 million people dead, most of them ethnic Igbo. On Monday, the Nigerian police had already directly blamed the attack on the pub, which denied any involvement, calling these accusations false and misleading. Well, thank you so much, Harry Potter. Now, the police chief of Minneapolis, Mideria, has testified that illegal excessive force was used by Derek Chauvin in the arrest of George Floyd that later led to his death. We have the report.
The police chief of Minneapolis, Minnesota, United States, Medaria Arradondo, has proclaimed under oath on the 6th day of the international attention-garnering trial that ex-officer Derek Chauvin violated the agency's policy on the use of force during the fatal arrest of George Floyd. He told the court that Chauvin's treatment of the now deceased 46-year-old African-American man breached department regulations. In the United States, it is highly unusual for a police chief to testify and give evidence against one of his own officers. The defense team claims Floyd died of drug use and pre-existing health conditions and not due to suffocation from Chauvin having knot on his neck for more than 9 minutes. Chauvin, facing up to 40 years in prison if convicted, has denied charges of second and third degree murder and manslaughter. 3 other officers also face aiding and abetting charges in the death of George Floyd.
Well, let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with our business news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Now, in a business news today, Nigerian authorities and volunteers have launched a cleanup of the longest beach in Lagos, collecting plastic bottles, bags, and polythene boxes that have polluted the waters of the country. We have the report.
Nigeria's megacity of 20 million people produces between 13,000 and 15,000 tons of waste per day, including 2,250 tons of plastic, according to a Lagos recycling startup, Recyclers. Despite recent cleanup efforts and an emerging recycling sector, Lagos has no rubbish sorting system, and lack of public awareness about pollution presents a huge environmental challenge. Litter in Africa's most populous city gets whisked away by the rains and waterways and ends up in piles of trash on the sprawling beaches. Lighthouse Beach stretches for about 100 kilometers, 60 miles along the Atlantic, all the way to neighboring Benin. Lined with palm trees, the beach could be heavenly if it weren't for all the pollution.
Away from business, in our health news today, the World Bank and International Monetary Fund report has shown that Africa needs about $12 billion to procure and distribute sufficient numbers of COVID-19 vaccines to attain adequate protections against the virus. We have the report.
According to an estimate based on the report by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, there is need for a further extension of the group of G20's debt service moratorium through to the year's end, noting in particular the continued high liquidity needs of developing countries and their deteriorating debt sustainability outlooks. In addition, it states that the estimated financial sum the African continent will need to curb coronavirus transmission is about the same as the total amount of the debt service payments already deferred by 45 of the most economically challenged nations participating in the G20's debt service suspension initiative. Netherlands, according to the World Bank's latest biannual economic analysis for sub-Saharan Africa, Economic growth in sub-Saharan Africa is estimated to have contracted by 2.0% in 2020, close to the lower bound of the forecast in April 2020. The analysis also finds that prospects for recovery are strengthening amid actions to contain new waves of the pandemic and speed up vaccine rollouts. TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, in our sports news today, the incumbent FIFA president, Moses Magogo, on Tuesday declared his intentions to contest as head of football governing body in Uganda. Mr. Magogo revealed this during quarterly FIFA media engagement held at Jeviv Hotel in Rubaga, Kampala. We have the report.
Incumbent Federation for Uganda Football Association President Engineer Moses Magogo has on Tuesday declared intentions to contest as head of the Football Governing Board in Uganda. Mr. Magogo revealed this during the quarterly Federation for Uganda Football Association media engagement held at the Jevine Hotel in Rubaga, Kampala. He started by indicating that the current term will come to an end in August this year, and thereafter confirmed his intention to seek for a third stint.
Nebino ebintu bino twategeka bitegeke tebigwa bugwi era twali tumanyi nti essaawa bwetuuka bweti nnyinza okweyongerayo n'obuvunaanyizibwa obulala ne tukiteekateeka nti federation tugizimbye ku musingi nti olwaleero erina workforce kuba nagisanga erina abakozi 8 kati erina abakozi 6 buli region waliyo omukozi emirimu gikolebwa abakozi kati tegikyakolebwa ba president oba executive naye tulina okukola role eya strategy role eyokulowoleza policies ezinatwala ekibiina mu maaso. Ebyo tebyetaaga budde bungi nnyo naate byetaaga connections. Ebintu ebyo byetaaga connections tufunye mu kaafu sobera Uganda efunyemu okubeera mu kaafu. Wandibadde ogamba nti weeyongeddeyo mu kaafu obuvunaanyizibwa. Uganda efunye nnyo mu FIFA olw'okweyongerayo kwange. N'ebimu ebimu mutamanyi oluse bibeera muwulira abazanyi COVID tebagenda kusamba ebintu bino biyambye Uganda olw'okuba tulinayo omuntu owaffe ali waggulu eyo. Nsuubira n'ogenda mu parliament kijja kwongera okuyamba ebizibu by'omupiira. Naye bw'ogendayo n'ovaayo mu federation tuyinza okuluzinga advantages ezimu nga nze ndi engineer omutendeke eyasoma telecommunication nsobola ogenda mu parliament n'enkolera Uganda mu eyo area nembeerayo ng'abantu bangi betulonze okuva mu mupiira bagenze ne babulirayo oba olw'obutasigala mu mupiira ne babulirayo yebadde n'ensonga lwaki kuba bangi abali babaddeko mu fufa ne bagenda olwaleero nga tebakyalina connection nakyo kiyinza okusoboka so twalowoozaamu nga fufa ne bannange tulowooza nti katukole transition entuufu tuggyeyo ebyo ebintu bye twagala okugyayo bwe binaaba bizze awo ne weeyongerayo kijja kuba kyangu nti ojja kuboolesa omusingi ogugumidde nga amateeka twogedde ku tteeka kadde tteeka ly'ebyemizannyo kadde liganya okukyuka katukyekwatiremu twogedde ku bisaawe biganya okukyuka katugende wali bye batemera naffe tubeerewo bagende okutematema nga naffe tutula bulungi tulaba oba tufunye oba tetufunye nsuubira nti ekyo kijja kugasa nnyo omupiira.
Having assumed power in 2013, the incumbent president believes he has the experience and ideas to take the game to another level, giving the added benefits of being a member of parliament. Magogo was elected member of parliament for Budiope East in January to the 11th parliament. The president stated that football should be safeguarded amidst the political tensions and promised a free and fair election process. Under the reign of Mr. Magogo as president, Federation for Uganda Football Association has registered several success stories in different areas such as governance, football development, equipment, infrastructure, national and representative teams, competitions, marketing and communications, finance and administration, plus membership. TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Well, before we end our bulletin, let's have a recap of our top stories. Nile countries trade blame as dam talks end without breakthrough. Dr. Mage Chigozie cautions local investors on ignoring the services of the Uganda Investment Authority. Italian PM Mario Draghi in Tripoli in first overseas trip as leader. And in our sports today, Magogo declares intentions to contest against ahead of FUFA polls. Well, thank you so much for watching with us. From where we started, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.
This is Africa, and that was the news.